In a normal high school setting, a young girl hesitantly asks the protagonist, Makoto, to go out with her, but he flatly refuses, stating that his own circumstances are not favorable. She tries to protest, but he politely bows to end the topic. The heartbroken girl bursts into tears and dashes away. Ah yes, the classic "it's not you, it's my tragic backstory" move. Without turning up his gaze, Makoto expresses his gratitude to Sensei, who suddenly pops out from behind a nearby tree. She agitatedly restrains him from calling her whenever he has a confession. He apologizes and reasons that he doesn't want to be in a fix if a confession is false. The frustrated Sensei wonders about the reason for his distrust of people and warns him that he cannot make friends in this way. Sensei really said, "Stop calling me your emotional tech support." He replies that he doesn't need friends and then excuses himself. He abruptly turns around to leave, despite her frenzied attempt to stop him. But he knows that as long as he is not a victim of a false confession, he is at peace. He recalls how delighted he would have been in the old days, and then gets hurt. Makoto's inner peace has more conditions than a phone warranty. He vows that he will never commit such a folly again. Earlier, he was the class clown during grade school, and the girl he liked laughed at him, which delighted him further. But then one day he accidentally knocked her down while playing soccer. The poor girl fell flat on her face on the muddy ground and soiled herself. And just like that, the romance slipped, literally and emotionally. There were some scratches on her knees and face, and other children pointed at the blood coming out of them. One of them blamed Makoto for deliberately pushing her. A panic-stricken Makoto suddenly remembers having some spare band-aids in his bag and instantly sprints away to get them. A young boy wrathfully condemns him for chickening out and urges him to apologize. Because nothing says villain like running to get first aid. Later, when he returns, he finds Shizuka nowhere, so he inquires about her from others. The others frown and refuse to tell him about her whereabouts since he didn't apologize to her. He tries to explain that he ran to grab the band-aids, but no one believes him. Soon, some inaccurate rumors about him spread like wildfire, and he was officially termed the bad guy. Congratulations, Makoto, you've unlocked the public enemy of grade school badge. He recalls how everyone cursed him. Nobody believed him, and nobody wanted to. At that time, he expressed gratitude for having a family. Upon reaching home, his annoyed mother probes him about hurting a girl. Ah yes, home, where rumors go to get official confirmation. His fuming sister adds fuel to the fire by accusing him of telling mean lies about Shizuka and hurting her. His mother yells at him for being a nuisance and compels him to go back and apologize. It is revealed that her mother had remarried, and both his parents preferred his stepsister. A disappointed Makoto tries to explain, but his mother ignores him to take a call. Even his mom ghosted him mid-conversation. That's next-level family bonding. He realizes that both his family and friends doubted him. He decides to stop giving explanations to anyone to make them trust him. Then came middle school, where he read a book every day, and his classmate Seitu was always there. One day, he finds a phone idly lying on the table and guesses that it belongs to Seitu. New school, new trauma speedrun begins. He quickly rushes after her and hands it to her immense relief. She mentions how she has always seen him in the library and is curious about the kind of books he likes. Makoto is glad to talk to someone and opens up completely, as he thought he had found a friend. But then he was termed as a criminal who attacked her. And just like that, the wholesome friendship arc turned into a courtroom drama. It was all a misunderstanding, but he ended up alone again. Even then, some girls tried to communicate with him, but he was always suspicious. One of them, named Kizuraji, begs him to go out with her, claiming that she has liked him for so long. Makoto is bewildered and wonders whether she hasn't heard the steaming gossip about him. If red flags were currency, Makoto would be a billionaire by now. She confidently assures him of her trust in him and offers to befriend her. Makoto agrees to be just her friend, but she is adamant about meeting him over the weekend. Unfortunately, poor Makoto is tricked again, as it is shockingly revealed that Kizuraji was playing with him as part of a punishment game. Kizuraji abashedly confesses to him, and the poor lad deletes her contact immediately. Makoto's trust issues have now entered their final form. He feels that the remaining piece of his heart that was left after the Seitu's crisis has completely crashed. However, the misery doesn't stop here, as then enters the super popular Nanako. One chilly morning, she cheerfully greets him and begins to walk along. She even tries to chat with him during break time, but he remains indifferent. Makoto's social battery, permanently unplugged. The other girls try to warn him about his bad reputation, but Nanako claims to have complete trust in him. The following night, he receives an invitation from her for a karaoke over the weekend. He is a bit apprehensive, but then agrees since she will be accompanied by some friends as well. However, the friends showed up, but Nanako stood him up as expected. Of course she did. Plot twist level, predictable heartbreak edition. They keep on mocking him for getting chummy with a girl like Nanako, who they believe has better things to do than hang out with him. Makoto is disgusted with himself for falling for the same trick again and again, and then he spent his remaining middle school years alone. In high school, out of the blue, Shizuka appears and offers him a back-to-home walk. Ironically, all the girls who deceived him in the past ended up with him in the same high school. Life said, let's gather all his ex-traumas in one convenient location. Something warns him that the girl who ignored him throughout middle school has suddenly popped up now. He ignores her, urging himself not to get involved, but she follows him anyway. She delightfully points at his house and mentions how gloomy and friendless he has become lately. She beamingly offers to become his friend without realizing that she is igniting his anger unconsciously. She really said, "You look miserable. Let's hang out." What a compliment. She candidly admits how things took a bizarre turn earlier and blames him for being too pushy. She claims that she never believed those rumors about him. Meanwhile, he analyzes that she had a better time at school than he did, so he believes that she is being unfair. When she admits that she believes in him, he is suspicious about her current intentions. Makoto's trust meter is officially below 0. She animatedly encourages him to be bold, and they will resume doing all those stupid things like before. But his needle is stuck at the point "why now?" so a flushed Shizuka assumes his fury about the lack of communication between them lately. She explains that their classes were different and that it was her hesitation that was causing the hurdle. She insists that she wants to change all that since now she is in high school. Apparently, high school cures all emotional damage, news to Makoto. He jabbering goes on when he curtly tells her to stay away from him. She holds his arm in disbelief and reminds him of his fondness for her. He regretfully states that it was his fault. She condemns him for behaving bizarrely. Nothing screams reconciliation like mutual emotional damage, but he bows and firmly stops her from making further advances. He stonily explains that it is too late for her to have faith in him. With that, he disappears inside his house, despite her pleas. As he enters, his sister points out that he is late. Makoto really said, main character exit, cue sad piano music. She simply wonders whether he was with Shizuka. He guesses that the nosy Parker has been eavesdropping, so he coldly apologizes to her for being late and expresses his desire to go upstairs. Frantically, she restrains him from being formal and reminds him that they are siblings. When he gives her a cold shoulder, she freaks out at his wooden behavior, recalling how bright and cheerful he was before. Ah, nostalgia, the flavor of regret with a sprinkle of family drama. Next, his mother appears and instructs him to get ready as she plans to celebrate his first day of high school. Now that is quite unexpected for him, but he remains aloof. He bluntly requests that his mother enjoy her time with her family. Ever since the Shizuka incident, things have become quite awkward every time he has an outing with his parents, so now he avoids going out and spends his time in seclusion reading books. Ah yes, nothing screams party mood like total emotional detachment. Anxiously, his mother emphasizes that their father may be out of the country, but now they are a family and he must stop pouting. He has become so wooden that he doesn't even know what pouting actually means. He apologizes and assures them of his caution next time. His mother stares at him gloomily. Mom's face says, "This was not the character development arc I ordered." Later, it is revealed that his only joy in this world is writing novels, as in this way, he becomes oblivious to the rest of the world. He finds 2 unread messages on his system. One is a positive review of the isekai reincarnation novel he wrote, and the next one is from a publishing company, offering to publish his work. The lad is overjoyed, but he knows that things will become troublesome, so he pretends that he never saw it and shuts down the system. The next day, Makoto is all groggy due to sleeplessness caused by the publishing email and decides to take an after-lunch nap. Makoto's career plan: ignore success until it goes away. Meanwhile, a strange young lady stares at him peculiarly while having her sandwich. He instantly recognizes her as Shimizuka, also known for her questionable reputation, and that's the reason for her isolation. However, he doesn't pay any heed to her. Suddenly, another young girl shyly offers to have lunch with him, but somehow he doesn't recognize her. Plot twist, she probably recognizes his bad luck from a mile away. The abashed girl requests to have a chat with him since he has already finished eating. However, Makoto has gone through the same old foul playing repeatedly, so he ignores her completely despite her desperate attempts to gain his attention. He quickly calls out to the wacky girl sitting beside him and requests that she lend the book after she has finished reading it. The girl quickly hands him over without a second thought. Shimizuka, the only person who treats book lending like a trust exercise. He realizes that nobody wants to talk to Shimizuka. Meanwhile, the other girl is astonished to see him talk to somebody for the first time, and then, feeling cringed, she turns away. He realizes that everyone judges others without proper analysis and research. He strictly wants those people to stay away from him. Next, he gazes at the girl beside him and realizes that if someone is confused about his willingness to talk to someone, then he should be the one asking questions. Finally, Makoto unlocks the self-awareness achievement. It took only 3 schools and a dozen betrayals. When he reaches home, his sister offers to share his heavy load, but he flatly refuses, claiming that this will make their mother furious. Deep down, he ponders why he spoke to Shimizuka-san back then, as this is completely against his nature. Think of the devil, and the devil is here. Well, that escalated faster than a Wi-Fi signal drop during a video call. Shimizuka suddenly appears on their street and smirks at them. His sister cannot help but notice her unruly walk. She even notices that sinister smirk on her face and wonders whether she belongs to the same school as theirs. Ah yes, the local mystery girl makes her entrance, complete with a villain walk and ominous silence. Suddenly, Shimizuka flashes a cold gaze at them, and he wonders whether she was squinting at the moment. Soon she passes by, without uttering a single word, and then his sister informs him about how Shimizuka is one of the hot topics in school due to her shady reputation. She calls her a weirdo, surprised that someone can break laws in this day and age. Breaking laws and walking dramatically, truly a multitasker. For the response, he only mumbles and moves on. When she feels ignored, his sister gets upset and wonders why they have stopped bonding lately. She mentions how he used to play with Shizuka in the past and ignored her. Sibling rivalry, because who needs peace at home anyway? That's why she always wanted to bully him out of rage. He can see that she is easily justifying her past foul behavior. He recalls how she tattled to their mother about a horrible rumor related to him, without considering that his feelings were getting hurt. Emotional trauma, brought to you by Family Time. She conveniently blames him for giving her a cold shoulder earlier, but now she openly admits that she was wrong about that cringeworthy gossip and believes that her cool older brother is incapable of doing something that terrible. Deep down, Makoto restrains himself from getting into that decoy again. Progress, he's finally resisting the urge to argue with logic-defying relatives. However, she strongly claims that she was the only one who believed him at that time. Aloofly, he tells her to cut down the crap and emphasizes that the past cannot be undone. He even urges her not to call him Oni-chan again. Translation: please stop the anime-level dramatics, sis. Distressed, she asks him about how to address him instead, but he quickly excuses himself and dashes inside. Even later, the previous conversation with his sister, Haruka, disturbs him a lot, so he tries to drown himself in writing. Out of the blue, a message pops up from a girl named Pomeko, who considers his novel her only lifeline, and the rest of the email is full of praise for his work. Finally, someone appreciates him, and it's not a blood relative. Makoto is perturbed because lately he has been receiving a lot of messages from Pomeko, although he admits they make him feel a lot better since the readers hardly communicate with him. He works till late at night and then calls it a day. The next morning, while leaving for school, he is slightly disappointed to see his inbox empty. Writers checking empty inboxes, the most relatable heartbreak ever. Upon reaching school, Shizuka notices him and calls out for his attention. She desperately wants to have a face-to-face conversation with him. When he ignores her, her best friend, Kurosawa Momo, reprimands him for smirking and insists that she was being serious. Public confrontation before first period. What a way to start the day. Tearfully, Shizuka explains that she didn't deceive him back then and insists on moving on despite their aggravated past. She expresses her desire to go on a movie date with him and is hopeful that even he will be able to erase bitter memories. Momo suddenly wraps her arms around her in sheer affection, and then crisply inquires about his arrogant behavior. Nothing heals old wounds like dragging them out in front of an audience. She emphasizes that past events are all trivial and crosses her limits by calling him a violent predator who had devoured many before. She terms him fortunate to receive Shizuka's affection and mocks him for whining about a fake confession from her side. Shizuka frantically restrains Momo from further rambling, while a perplexed Makoto wonders about the alleged act of kindness from her side. But on the other hand, Shizuka never tried to fix his distrust either. Makoto's thinking, "I just wanted lunch, not a courtroom drama." Shizuka expresses her concern over his drained appearance. However, Momo feels that Shizuka is far too superior to Makoto. A stern Makoto decides to be firmer with her to show her the real picture, when suddenly Shimizuka appears from behind and roughly orders them to disperse. She shoots such a sharp gaze at them that it sends chills down their spines. Cue boss music. Shimizuka has entered the chat. A terror-struck Momo tries to make peace with her, but quite wrathfully, Shimizuka lashes her out. Momo makes a shocking revelation about how both Shizuka and she were close to Shimizuka, and the trio used to hang out all the time. Shizuka condemns her in her usual sugar-coated tone to stop being disobedient and insists that she had always believed in her. So basically, ex-friends, drama, and betrayal, the holy trinity of high school life. Shimizuka grits her teeth in sheer wrath and is about to curse her when Makoto intervenes and silences her. Next, he addresses the other two ladies, probing them about facing baseless defamation. He elaborates whether they have tried protecting someone, but instead got accused of something they didn't do. Makoto just turned lunchtime gossip into a full-blown therapy session. He grinds them about ever being betrayed by someone so near. He compels them to stop acting like pompous know-it-alls when they are completely clueless in reality. He bows in front of them and politely requests they back out to save him from further trouble. Polite anger, the deadliest weapon in the socially awkward arsenal. He emphasizes again that the past cannot be undone. Shizuka bursts into tears and swiftly dashes away, with Momo following her in a frenzy. Shimizuka stares after them scornfully. And that's how you clear a crowd, Makoto style. Later, while sitting in the classroom with Shimizuka, he guesses from her body language that she is engrossed in a web novel. He observes in amazement her super rapid typing speed. However, his own inbox is as deserted as his heart. He is really waiting for feedback about the new part that he added yesterday. Suddenly, a message from Pomeko pops up in which she shows immense appreciation for his new part. She even mentions the rattle she had gotten through that morning and urges him to keep working hard. Finally, validation from someone who isn't emotionally chaotic. Makoto is relieved to receive a positive review from her side. He wonders whether he would seem too desperate if he answered her right away, but then he is compelled to reply to her. When he is done, a startled Shimizuka peers at him suspiciously. Makoto's thinking, "I swear it's just a fan email, not a love confession, probably." She swiftly types something on her phone and then looks in her direction. At the same time, a message tone pings on his phone, indicating that a fresh message has been received from Pomeko, titled, "If It's Possible." He inquisitively blurts out, "What's possible?" The cliffhanger text, guaranteed to ruin your focus for the rest of the day. A flustered Shimizuka accidentally drops her phone on the ground, and a symbol of Pomeranian mascot pasted on her back cover raises doubt in his mind. And boom, the plot twist no one saw coming, except literally everyone paying attention. He analyzes the symbol of the supposed Pomeranian dog and wonders whether Pomeka-san derived her name from it. He tries to calm his wrecked nerves by thinking that his suspicion might be baseless. There is a long, awkward silence between the two when, out of the blue, Shimizuka blurts out Nyanta, because apparently dramatic cat noises are a perfectly normal conversation starter. He glances at her in sheer shock and wonders about his rapidly pounding heart. He cannot comprehend the eerie feeling in his heart or the reason for his heavy sweating. He tries to relax by reminding himself that they aren't even close. Spoiler, being not close doesn't stop panic mode. Thankfully, the teacher arrives in the classroom, commencing the homeroom period. Makoto has composed himself by then and decides to wipe out that message from his phone and mind. He is adamant about deleting that once homeroom ends. However, his procrastination is extended until the lunch period, but he still cannot bring himself to delete that message. He holds his phone still until he gets drained, but doesn't delete the message, and then the final homeroom period arrives. An exhausted Makoto just desires to go home. In short, he's mastered the fine art of avoidance through staring at screens. His gaze falls unconsciously over Shimizuka, and he senses an overpowering aura around her. It appears as if she is trying to widen the gap between herself and others by intimidating them. He tries to restrain himself from thinking about her and concentrates on the teacher. The teacher mentions a class trip and intends to make groups for that purpose. Now, an introvert Makoto doesn't have any memories of class trips. For him, groups have always been a pain, and just recalling them makes him uncomfortable. The teacher informs them about the upcoming group formation and encourages them to have good communication with each other. Translation: Panic stations for introverts. As the school is over, he abruptly sets up to go home. A flushed Shimizuka tries to say something, but nothing comes out of her mouth. He quickly excuses himself to leave first. Out of anger, she kicks under the table and curses. When a stunned Makoto stares at her, she yells at him to stop being chummy with her, and then storms out. Suddenly, a strange girl emerges, wondering whether Shimizuka is his friend. Just your average high school entrance scene. Drama, mystery, and random kicks included. Makoto instantly recognizes that stranger as Seitu Miyu, the girl from that infamous library incident. It appears that she has completely gone through a makeover at high school and is almost unrecognizable. He tries to ignore her, but she keeps on rambling about their old library days when they used to have a lot of fun. Somehow, she upgraded from librarian chaos to full-on talking tornado. She admits that earlier she was a plain Jane who had difficulty gelling with boys, but she claims that he was special. She flushes at the thought that it was probably love at first sight in their case. She probes him about his secluded life and assures him that she knows everything that happened afterwards. Love at first sight strikes again, apparently with a side of interrogation. Without noticing his super grave expression, she inquires about all his past nemesis, Haruka, Shizuka, Nanaku, and Kizuraiji, being there in that same high school. When he doesn't respond, she assumes that he hasn't noticed them yet. A miserable Makoto ponders that he doesn't recognize them because he has wiped their faces from his mind. Memory erase. Activated, conveniently. She casually confesses her mistake and asks him to befriend her. When he refuses, she tries again by mentioning the stuff she has learnt from all those romance games. She insists that she has learned a lot from her mistakes and will do her best to rectify them. Romance games, the ultimate life coach. Agitatedly, he realizes that Haruka and Shizuka aren't the only manipulators he knows. Next, she pulls out something from her pocket, claiming it to be a nostalgia bomb. It turns out that she is referring to her old glasses that she puts on to surprise him. Cool glasses deployed, maximum effect questionable. The insane girl wonders whether he misses her cool spec look that he hasn't seen in ages. But the boy of steel restrains himself from getting sucked by all that sweet talk since he has eliminated all those disturbing middle school memories. When he pulls out his cell phone from his back pocket, Seidu squeals in delight, thinking that he is probably about to take her picture and insists on using a filter. Filter? Not today, Chaos Queen. However, he ignores her and finds a new message from Pomeko. She has briefly mentioned the chaos in her life, but has offered him full support and is looking forward to his new chapter. Now this is unexpected because Makoto was certain that she wouldn't write to him anymore. Fan mail over selfies wins again. Meanwhile, the lunatic Seitu is still craving a photo, but he is too engrossed to notice her. He feels somewhat content because of Pomeko's response. Also, he feels nothing shady about this correspondence since Pomeko is only interested in being a reader. In fact, he believes that he will be letting her down if he doesn't finish the chapter soon. Motivation disguised as mild panic. However, he is not certain about that. Still, he is somewhat motivated to delve into writing once he reaches home. Upon entering, he finds his mother waiting for him. When she desires to talk to him, he gives her a cold shoulder, stating that he has to meet a friend. Cold shoulders, the preferred greeting method. It is then, an elated Haruka appears, inviting him for a shopping spree. She insists that she wants to go out with her favorite Onaya-chan. Their mother urges her to get ready, assuming that Makoto has agreed. However, he suggests that the two go alone since he doesn't want to be trouble for them. Family bonding? Optional. Apparently, especially for Gen Z, his mother proclaims that going out with a family is not trouble at all. She advises him to forget his past and move on since he has already reached high school. Makoto is clueless about what she is intending to say and sarcastically guesses that now she is trying to look after him. He recalls how, during his middle school years, she went out with his sister without even telling him. Quite doubtfully, his mother suggests inviting that friend over since she had heard that he attended a party alone. But he curtly refuses, stating that it's a waste of money. Money, still the ultimate decision-maker. He realizes that his mother hasn't changed from all those years and believes that human personalities rarely transform. He emphasizes to his mother that he cannot go with them so suddenly. A concerned Haruka guesses that he probably has an invisible friend. Invisible friends, relevant for all generations. She urges him to join them, claiming that it will be fun to eat some meat together. She expresses a desire to walk while holding his hands. He flatly guesses that his words are probably not very reliable. Hand-holding, terrifying optional activity, especially for nerdy introverts. With that, he leaves abruptly, leaving Haruka startled. He figures out that she is probably checking out the new mall in front of the station like many others. He is relieved that at least now he won't run into anyone in that old, run-down store. But you don't know. A storm is waiting for you, Makoto. Later he enters the store, and thankfully, the food court is deserted for him to write in peace. However, another surprise is waiting for him as he spots a frowning Shimizuka completely engrossed in her phone. He wonders about the reason for her presence in this place. Out of the blue, her face breaks into a flushed smile, and then miraculously, her face goes through several varied expressions Makoto has never seen before. Then she flips open her portable keyboard and begins to type rapidly. A stunned Makoto can easily see the intensity on her face. Facial gymnastics to the next level. It is then that a shocking revelation is made on Pomeko's page about her upcoming novelization, which makes him realize that even she is a novelist. However, she stopped updating her work about a year ago. Next, he receives a message from her, full of hymns about his new chapter and several words of encouragement for him to keep up his hard work. And there goes the bazooka of praises from a human cannon. Then he orders 2 glasses of orange juice and heads towards Shimizuka. However, the Iron Lady is too engrossed in her work, and she yells at him without turning around. But when she feels that the person is still standing, she hysterically turns around to ward him off. However, she is taken aback to see Makoto standing behind her. Frantically, she inquires about his presence at this place. Oops, I heard a terrifying explosion, did you? When he places the glasses on her table, she is about to say something. To her astonishment, he misunderstands her and denies having any intentions to befriend her. His bitter tone slightly takes her aback since he has always been so disgustingly polite. Kindness strikes again, beware, it's lethal. She blurts out that even she has her share of a bad reputation, although it is better than his. She insists that he leave her in isolation. The smart lad reads between the lines and guesses that her reputation has gotten considerably rotten. Ah yes, rotten reputations, the fashion statement of the year. He calmly proclaims that he doesn't give a cent about his defamatory position, since even its credibility is questionable. However, she claims that she doesn't care and doesn't want to get involved anymore. He is quite aware of her shady position, rumors about how she likes dating old men, extorts money from peers, and is involved in endless violence. Sounds like a wholesome hobby list, really. She is even notoriously known to be sneaking out at night. However, he shuns all those baseless rumors and offers her some juice. However, the girl gets out of control as she snatches the glass from his hand, yelling hysterically about not wanting to be duped anymore. Juice, apparently a weapon of mass hysteria. She is about to slam the glass down, bellowing at him to leave her alone and stop being so superficial. But he abruptly holds her hand to stop her. However, half of the juice spills out and even soils his sleeves. At first, she mellows down, apologizing for the ruckus, but then she blames him for everything. Classic. Apologize, then blame, the ultimate strategy. He sarcastically takes the blame for offering her juice out of nowhere. She sighs in frustration and probes him about his intentions, as he is not here for a friendly chat. He pretends to be thoughtful, and then smugly expresses his refusal to befriend her since he doesn't believe and doesn't want to be deceived. Friendship. Optional, apparently. She tries to ward him off by showing disinterest. After a short, awkward pause, he suddenly drops a bomb, addressing her as Pomeko-san, and wondering about the reason she stopped writing. An electrified Shimizuka jumps in fright, staring at him inquisitively. Shocking news. Names can explode rooms. She frantically guesses that he might have caught the whiff from others. She points out that they both know that they are both trying to be something they are not, so why explode at this place? He calmly sips his juice and assures her that he is not trying to be chummy with her. Juice. Still the ultimate truth serum. Frustratingly, she yells at him, addressing him as Nyanta, and accuses him of putting in so many dead people. She reveals that his stories always hurt her deeply, and that he should value his characters more. Flushingly, she decides to give him some margin because of the cute heroine. It is then he smugly intends to read aloud her work for a minute and claims that he hasn't read any of it yet. She tries to stop him, claiming that it is her previous work. However, he playfully tweaks her romantic writing style. She screams at him maniacally, restraining him from mocking romance and urging him to stop reading immediately. But Makoto doesn't stop and thrusts the phone playfully beyond her reach. He taunts her for beginning a novel with dumpings and deaths. Soon the tussle and chit-chat go on for some time. Out of the blue, her stomach begins to growl like a beast. She looks away, retorting that she skipped lunch, and they jibber-jabbered a lot after all. An amazed Makoto realizes that he hasn't talked that much in ages, and he secretly praises her for being well-learned, which he hadn't expected from the real Shimizuka. Shimizuka seems like a coconut, rough on the outside, but soft and nutritious from the inside. He casually announces about eating and then leaving. He is curious whether she doesn't want to go home. She blurts out that she doesn't gel well with her family, who she believes are too annoying and trustworthy. Her words get stuck in her mouth on seeing a lady entering the cafe. She groans in frustration at the sight of her, but the lady squeals with delight, claiming to be her older sister. Shimizuka's face turns crimson in fury. However, oblivious to that, her older sister embraces her from behind and playfully urges her to come home. Nothing like family ambushes to ruin a cafe visit. She suddenly notices Makoto, guesses that he is her friend, and greets her pleasantly. Abruptly, they both deny that together. The lady addresses Shimizuka as Anri and introduces herself as her older sister Seiko. She expresses her delight at seeing Shimizuka hanging out with someone of her age. Makoto politely introduces himself, and to Seiko, he resembles the popular protagonist from a web novel, The Sword of the Bloodstained Hero, which happens to be Shimizuka's favorite novel. An annoyed Shimizuka sprouts up to leave and reminds Makoto once again that they are not chummies. Popular protagonist comparison, because why not? He plainly assures her that even he is not interested. Seiko insists that she is exhausted from work, so they must stay for a little chit-chat. However, a wrathful Shimizuka shuns her roughly, but the word Nyanta slips from her mouth as she bids him goodbye. Oops, secret revealed, classic move. She immediately regrets it, but Seiko becomes suspicious. A perturbed Makoto urges her to be more careful the next time, but the damage is already done, and his secret is out. A fully charged-up Seiko yells hysterically as she realizes that Makoto is Nyanta-sensei, the author of Mikiru's grand isekai adventure. Shimizuka's tongue is as slippery as runny jello. She insanely tries to confirm with Shimizuka, but the latter abashedly tries to cover up the blunder she has made. But Seiko cannot be fooled, as she is certain that she heard that loud and clear. She reasons that Makoto can definitely be Nyanta due to his affinity with novels, to such an extent that he can easily ramble about it to a very awkward Shimizuka. Affinity with novels, also known as trouble magnet. She coyly wonders about the reason he hasn't been responding to her messages. She reveals how impatiently she has been waiting and encourages him to hold a meeting with the editor. Makoto is taken aback when a shocking realization sinks in that Seiko was the one who sent him his revisions for serialization a few days ago. Revisions delivered by Mystery Sister. Plot twist accepted. Once again, Seiko proclaims that the fact that they are friends should be made known to her. Immediately, they both deny her allegation. She discloses how worried Shimizuka was due to his unresponsiveness, and now he has ignited her fury. Seiko decides to give him some time to think and keeps the discussion regarding serialization for some other time since it is very late. She mentions that their residence is nearby. She seems like less of a sister and more of a stick-o glue. Once the sisters are out, Seiko croons lovingly about the wonderful destiny. When a frowning Shimizuka looks at her questioningly, she clarifies that she is talking about the destiny of serialization. The latter shrugs off aloofly. Destiny, also known as bedtime story filler. Makoto has been witnessing the scene and thinks that those sisters are outrageous. He reckons that he doesn't know much about Shimizuka. However, he notices that Seiko has a calm and cheerful demeanor. He is astonished by the fact that he is still thinking about her. He confirms with Shimizuka about her sister being an editor. She proclaims indifferently that she didn't know she would be in charge of him. It dawns on him that she is not the one who forced her sister to publish his work, and he is actually relieved to learn that. Relief tastes like lukewarm tea. Out of the blue, she admits that she was the one who liked his work first. She suddenly turns towards him and sharply informs him about her work being published under a different company of her sister. She clarifies that she didn't use her influence to get his work serialized, and that his work is up to the mark to receive that credit. Influence is overrated anyway, said no one ever. Suddenly, her cheeks become flushed with embarrassment, and she nervously stammers, trying to cover up her previous slip of tongue. He stares at her with confusion, and after a momentary silence, Seiko's voice echoes, declaring them as good friends. Shimizuka protests and reminds her about the past, explaining the reason for her not believing in friendship. Friendship sounds suspiciously like attacks. A drained Makoto nervously clarifies his position, but stops midway as if seeing a ghost. Shimizuka stares curiously in that direction and finds Shizuka and Seitu staring at them in a daze. Both cannot believe their eyes on seeing him with Shimizuka. Plot twist should come with a warning label. Makoto turns away and is about to leave when Seitu frantically stops him and begs him to listen. She insists that Shizuka and she only need to apologize to him. They both break into bitter sobs and plead with him to wait, crying, the universal free pass for bad decisions. However, Makoto isn't moved and is curious about the reason for their apology. He is not ready to forgive them for their past misdeeds. A flushed Shimizuka gently places her hand on his shoulder and signals him to leave with her. Shoulder taps, also known as subtle guilt trips. She pretends as if they were conversing on some topic, and now they should continue with it. The two girls stop crying and stare at them in astonishment as a spray of laughter comes out of his mouth. He mischievously calls her a meddlesome girl and agrees to walk with her. To Shimizuka's extreme annoyance, Seiko pushes Makoto towards her and insists that she is a part of their group. When Shimizuka tries to protest, Seiko forcefully calls herself Makoto's friend and tries to hold her hand. Angrily, Shimizuka tells her to leave her alone and reminds her that Makoto and she aren't friends. Makoto blankly glances at her and agrees, but Shizuka and Seitu clearly saw him smile while looking at Shimizuka. Meanwhile, Makoto analyzes that one cannot get rid of past wounds, however he was able to bury them for some time. Burying wounds works until the neighbors complain. He turns around towards Shimizuka and, with a dazzling beam, thanks her, addressing her as Pomeko. As the trio reaches his place, Haruka watches them from the window and cannot believe that Makoto actually has a friend because she thought he was just fibbing. The next morning at school, Makoto goes through Pomeko's messages and secretly thanks her for her daily support. Secretly thanking someone is almost the same as paying taxes. Meanwhile, Shimizuka glances at him. A few days pass by, and it appears that both Makoto and Shimizuka have kept their distance at school. He believes that they are nothing more than an author and a reader, and she sends him messages as Pomeko about his work after his new novel came out. Reading is only socially acceptable stalking. Soon the day arrives when the teacher announces that they have to form groups for the trip. There are murmurs and chirps of excitement in the classroom as the students form groups of their choice. Meanwhile, Makoto lazily waits for the others to form groups, as he knows that he will be the left-out one as usual. Being left out builds character or bitterness. A bored Shimizuka more or less feels the same. The other girls are worried about being grouped with Shimizuka, while the boys shudder at the thought of getting teamed with Makoto. Makoto remains aloof, but Shimizuka's patience runs out as she angrily slams her hands on the desk and sprouts up abruptly. Desk slams are effective but bad for tables. She frowns at a bewildered Makoto and then grabs a chalk from a classmate. The other classmates secretly giggle as she heads towards the blackboard. She scribbles furiously on the board, furiously intending to get over this drama and go home. Drama requires chalk and excessive enthusiasm. As she scribbles two names on the board, Seitu gasps in disbelief, wondering whether the two are hitched. Wrathfully, Shimizuka announces that her group consists of only Makoto and herself and hopes that everyone is fine with it. Next, she turns towards the teacher and inquires whether two people from different classes forming a group is an issue. Teachers love paperwork even more than they love sanity. The teacher assures her that it doesn't matter. The teacher dismisses the class after everyone is done. Shimizuka sits aloofly on her chair while a flabbergasted Makoto stares at her. Aloofness, the newest fashion statement in classrooms. A flushed Shimizuka clarifies that she doesn't intend to get close to him, but just wanted to get over the trivia. He indifferently acknowledges her action, so in conclusion Shinju Makoto and Shimizuka Anri are not friends by any means, but they are Nyanta and Pomeko. Friendship levels minimal, sarcasm levels max. Later, Makoto expresses his curiosity to Shimizuka about both being in the same group, so she clarifies that it is easier being with him rather than being with someone she despises. He finally concurs to her idea, but she advises him to be more direct the next time. He protests that he can never be as blunt as she is. Bluntness is clearly a rare superpower. Fed up, he urges her to stop talking about school for now, so she asks him about his progress on the latest chapter and his mindset on getting published. To her delight, he reveals that he has finished the part to be uploaded the following night. However, he just needs to refine it first. However, he is still not certain about the idea of getting his work published. He is aware that what he took as a hobby is being recognized, but he still considers himself underage and doesn't want to be a hassle for his parents. Teenage authors, the ultimate stress test for families. When he appears silent for a long time, she understands that there are a lot of things to consider and insists that he should take his time. It appears that his meeting with Seiko is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. She clarifies that her sister might appear crazy, but she is quite serious about her work. She even discloses that for this reason she never got hitched despite being so attractive. Attractive and single. Guaranteed to confuse onlookers. He stares at her thoughtfully and realizes that she does have a soft corner for her sister. His remark embarrasses her, but she nervously explains that, after all, they are a family. On hearing the term family, Makoto suddenly remembers his estranged father, whom he hasn't seen in ages. He wonders whether he will approve of getting his novel published. Estranged parents, what a perfect plot twist inspiration. Noticing Makoto's gloomy mood, Shimizuka asks what's wrong. When he stays silent, she proposes a battle. Curious, he asks the theme, and she suggests an outdoor class challenge. Each writes a 500-word short story, and Seiko will judge. Judges, the necessary evil of creative contests. Makoto reminds himself this isn't bonding. It's just a duel only Nyanta and Pomeko could fight. Shimizuka finishes first and yells in triumph, but Makoto, annoyed, points out that speed doesn't decide the winner. She ignores him and demands to see his work. Apparently, screaming counts as a victory dance. They exchange phones. A smile spreads across her face as she reads his story, while Makoto, surprised, finds himself grinning at hers. He tries so hard to hold back his laughter that his face reddens and his eyes water. Reading, it seems, is emotional cardio. Amused, Shimizuka jokes that her story must be so good it made him cry. Makoto beams and praises her sincerely. She stares at him, wide-eyed, then bursts into a huge smile of her own. The next morning, as Makoto sets off for school, his mother inquires whether he will be going early that day as well. Early mornings, nature's cruel joke. He nonchalantly affirms. She probes him further about any special event that day. Makoto recalls all those razor-sharp and acrid words his mother had showered upon him in the past, when hideous rumors about him being a molester appeared on the front. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot erase them from his mind. Memories have a stubborn subscription plan. He doesn't consider her a bad person, but it's just that she tries to be so perfect. Even that day, she urges him to speak his mind instead of standing silently. He realizes that her harsh words always break his heart and corner him. He wonders about her reaction once she comes to know about the publication, since she is even unaware of him being a novelist. Perfectionism, the ultimate heartbreaker. He can see her criticize him for publishing a novel while just being a high schooler. He is not even certain about how much she trusts him. The following night, he is scheduled to meet Seiko, so he decides to think about this matter in the meantime at school. As he is about to leave, Haruka calls him from behind and throws something at him. He quickly catches it and finds out that it is of kusamochi, a Japanese dessert. Flying desserts, high school tradition. He recalls how stubbornly she tags along with him on their way to school. At school, both Shimizuka and Makoto are called by their teacher in the staff room. As they hesitantly stand before her, she expresses her curiosity about the two being friends with each other. Teachers, expert interrogators in casual clothes. They both instantly deny her allegations. The teacher reasons that she is not expecting them to stay low or not to make any trouble because, after all, she is just their homeroom teacher. Still, she considers herself an adult who understands them better, other than their family, so she encourages them to get advice from her. Shimizuka bluntly inquires about her point. The teacher wisely points out that there are many irrational things in this world, and the school is a miniature form of that. She explains that she won't compel them to make as many friends as they can, since just a few or even a single one is okay. She encourages them to find someone whom they can trust. Makoto stares at her gloomily and chips in that even if one does trust someone, in the end, they always get betrayed. Shimizuka completely agrees with his point of view. The teacher is speechless for a moment as even she is hit by a bout of nostalgia. She really hopes that they can find someone they trust to an extent that being betrayed by them a couple of times won't matter. Both Shimizuka and Makoto stare at each other in confusion, since the teacher's statement swipes off their heads. Confusion, universal brain cleanser. Instantly, Shimizuka condemns him for staring at her, which he completely denies. As the bickering begins, the teacher dismisses them with a knowing grin. They suspect that in the end, the teacher doesn't want them to skip the outdoor class, but Makoto is still clueless about what she was trying to convey. They are still lost in their thoughts when a strange girl calls out to Makoto from behind. She apprehensively confirms with him about his identity, and it seems as if she has known him for a long time. She mentions how she always wanted to talk to him. Makoto is unable to recognize her. She introduces herself as Kizuraji. Long-lost acquaintances always arrive fashionably late. It immediately strikes him that Kizuraji is the girl who played a prank on him about a fake confession in middle school. Surprisingly, Makoto cannot remember her face at all. He glances at her briefly and then excuses himself. Kizuraji desperately tries to clarify her position about how she was forced to be a part of a punishment game by her friends. Punishment Games, the original reality TV. She insists that deep down she has always liked him and expresses her desire to start over. Makoto's face darkens with emotion, and he realizes that it was a prank after all. He cannot understand why he is thinking so much because normally he would abruptly end such conversations. He recalls how Kizuraji was laughing at him as well back then. Some laughs leave a permanent echo. He realizes that he doesn't want to have this conversation in front of Shimizuka. Kizuraji is keen to apologize and offers to go out with him this coming weekend. However, he refuses by stating that it's too late. A miserable Kizuraji explains again about how she was compelled at that time. Timing is everything, especially for apologies. He believes that she is merely trying to justify her actions without considering his feelings. Like a bolt from the blue, she hysterically pins him to the wall and begs him to forgive her. Abruptly, Shimizuka barges in between the two, pushing Kizuraji away from him. She sternly informs her that since he has to plan an outdoor class with her, he has no time doodling around with her. Doodling can be lethal if timed wrong. A furious Kizuraji scolds Shimizuka for interfering, explaining she just wanted to talk to Makoto. Shimizuka snaps back, saying Kizuraji was the one who butted into their earlier conversation. Then she grabs Makoto's hand and tells Kizuraji to leave. Awestruck by Shimizuka's boldness, Makoto follows her, leaving a sulking Kizuraji behind. Classic hand-holding high school diplomacy. Once alone, Shimizuka calls him a wimp and reminds him he'll be late for his meeting with Seiko. He weakly replies that Kizuraji wouldn't listen. Shimizuka admits Kizuraji is intimidating, but Makoto is too busy staring at the hand she just held. She notices and teasingly asks if he wants her to do it again. He grins and says she just blushed like a tomato, so better not. Their playful banter continues, though it's clear he still feels the warmth of her touch. Tomatoes, apparently a valid measurement of embarrassment. On the day of Makoto's middle school graduation, Shizuka congratulates him in hopes that he is going to the after-event party. He vacantly congratulates her as well, and then quickly excuses himself despite her pleas to stop. She wonders about his cold attitude, but assures herself that at least they are attending the same high school. Later at a cave, Shizuka recounts how Seitu and she met Makoto, and were taken aback by Shimizuka and another gorgeous woman accompanying him. Nothing like a little visual shock to ruin your dessert. Seitu agrees that the lady is super beautiful, and she even finds Shimizuka attractive. Seitu is envious of Shimizuka's super smooth skin. They express their curiosity about both Shimizuka and that beautiful woman going home together. Suddenly, Shizuka inquires about Shimizuka's questionable reputation from Seitu, as she is afraid that it might affect Makoto's as well. Because nothing says high school drama like neighborhood gossip escalated to national news. Even Seitu is not certain, but rumors say that she is troublesome. She points out that she is always alone in the classroom as well. Shizuka thoughtfully remarks that she didn't seem to have any bonding with Makoto at least. However, back then, she was merely rambling away with him. Haruka recalls how Kizuraji was scouting for him, but she didn't take her seriously though. Some detective work fails spectacularly when your targets are your classmates. Shizuka chips in the gossip that Kizuraji once was on good terms with Makoto. Haruka imagines Kizuraji's appearance and comments that she is quite hip among boys despite being plain and quiet. Seitu has heard that she is very pampered. Haruka discloses that something fishy was going on between Nanako and Makoto a long time ago, but then both Kizuraji and Nanako did something questionable. High school relationships, part mystery, part disaster, mostly regret. Haruko stops short because the words are too disturbing for her to let out. Seitu guesses that Haruko doesn't want Nanako and Kizuraji to be around Makoto, and even Shizuka agrees miserably. Unexpectedly, Haruko delightfully jumps in joy, claiming that Onie-chan was really kind to her this morning and even accepted her kusamochi. The other girls are baffled by that wacky announcement. Accepting desserts apparently redeems a lifetime of offenses. Haruko explains that, unlike before, he has mellowed down a bit, and the credit probably goes to Shimizuka. Shizuka dejectedly lowers her head, and then suddenly shoots a question about whether they both hold feelings for Makoto. However, they drearily admit that they all have hurt his feelings. The story moves into flashback when, during grade school, Shizuka was greatly upset on learning about Makoto's declining reputation. Nothing like a flashback to remind you that middle school was cruel, universally. She regrets that she should have confirmed it at that time, but her classmates got so heated that she wasn't able to take a stand for Makoto, despite being aware that he didn't hurt her. She recalls how Makoto became miserable being condemned by his own classmates. As for kids, school is their life. She became concerned for Makoto and expected that he would remain like this in middle school as well. Deep down, she wanted desperately to clear up the misunderstanding, but then she was worried that the blame would shift to her and she would be despised. Worrying about being blamed is practically a high school sport. For this reason, she abandoned Makoto. She thought that she could always make up for her doing in high school, but Makoto never gave her a chance. Ever since that day, she has had a deep regret for the mistake her weaker self made. Shizuka is surprised when Haruka admits that she is aware of that day. Surprises are better when they involve long-forgotten guilt. She recalls how the other kids mistreated him just because he hit Shizuka. However, at that time, even she was oblivious to the truth. She even tried to confirm with her friend, who affirmed that Makoto is scary despite Haruka's hymns about him being kind. His friends suspect that maybe he is two-faced and acts virtuously only in front of the family, despite Haruka's mom being his stepmother. At that time, Haruka felt bad for him, thinking that now he would end up alone, but she felt that he deserved it. Apparently, being misunderstood is a full-time occupation. Later, when a drained Haruka reached home, she tattled about him hurting a girl. Their mother was devastated and gave him a good scolding. Currently, Haruka admits that she was envious of him paying more attention to Shizuka, so she loved troubling him. With time, he became more and more miserable, and her regret grew deeper and deeper. She tried everything to make up for her mistake, but she realized that she was being stupid. She remorsefully reckons that now things have gone overboard, and he treats her coldly. How she wishes that she could have resolved her mistake earlier. Now it is Seitu's turn to let the cat out of the bag about the rumor that Makoto attacked her in the library. Cats would be proud of all this bag opening. Seitu had always believed that, but on middle school graduation day, a stranger disclosed the truth to her. It appears that on that day there was an earthquake and Makoto was trying to protect her from the things falling from the library shelves. Seitu was shocked, but the stranger didn't stop and dashed away. A shocked Seitu tried to recall the previous events and remembered that an earthquake had come and Makoto instantly jumped on her, just to save her. Nothing like a seismic plot twist to ruin your reputation. Someone saw that and spread a rumor that Makoto assaulted Seitu. Soon, the word went around like wildfire, and people flocked around them, reproaching Makoto. The classmates began to probe her with the sleaziest questions and pass ruthless remarks about his character. Even then, Seitu couldn't believe that a kind-hearted Makoto could do something like that. Rumors travel faster than a caffeinated squirrel, but people filled his head with all kinds of rubbish, and since she was so shy and got so much attention for the first time, she didn't directly ask Makoto about his actions. She remembers that because of that incident, she made new friends and refurbished herself. She got so engrossed in her fun-filled school life that she completely forgot about the assault. Haruka recalls Seitu being a style icon in the 9th grade, but she claims that she rejected them all just because of Makoto. Her eyes were open when the truth was revealed, and all those happy library memories flooded her mind. She realized she had developed feelings for him, but he completely ignored her desperate calls. Seitu then deeply recognized her mistake. The trio now regrets their actions, knowing that whatever they do might be too late. Shizuka suggests they help him return to his kind self, because nothing motivates like guilt times 3. She advises against contacting him directly, and they all agree to keep their distance. Haruka points out that since Shimizuka has touched Oni-chan's heart, they should support her. Shocked at first, Shizuka and Seitu soon realize it's the only way to make things right. Teamwork makes the dream work, even if it's just fixing high school drama. The trio decides to help the couple by removing obstacles, starting with Nanako and Kizuraji. Though they didn't reunite under the best circumstances, they're relieved to finally talk, and so a secret alliance is formed, because nothing bonds people like past mistakes, and maybe chocolate.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.